Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Live with City Manager Kenny Martin live stream. This live stream provides an interactive community update on all things Mount Juliet, to include important updates about the COVID-19 precautions, tornado cleanup, and all the good news in between. So, Kenny, I've known you since I was 14 years old when I joined the Police Explorer program. You were the police chief at the time, and a lot of people know you in the community, but for a lot of our new residents and new business owners here in town, just briefly tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Tyler. And first and foremost, I'm extremely proud of Tyler and, of course, our city and our police department. Watching you grow up, Tyler, and all that you've accomplished in your career here with the city, very proud of you. I remember you started out, I think, as one of our police explorers. And just, I know the community's proud of you. Of course, you know I'm proud of you. You know how I feel about you. But I started out with the police department in March 30th of 1990. Started out as a patrol officer. I was one of about 6 police officers. Mount Juliet was a lot smaller back then. And over the years, I worked my way up and eventually became police chief. I left the police department and moved over to the city hall side, became the director of economic development, and then ultimately I believe it was January of 2012, became city manager.
Awesome. That's great. And, we really wanted to do this live stream to provide an update to the community. This was your idea as an update from the city manager, to just update on things that are going on with social media today and with technology. It allows us to bring in this live stream. I'm sitting at my office at the police department. You're at your office in City Hall, and then there's about 199 people, now 200, watching us from across the community through Facebook, through YouTube, through Twitter, really just to get an update from us. And we're going to talk a little bit about today about the COVID-19 precautions, the tornado cleanup, and all the good news in between. So, with the first topic on everyone's mind, especially with the governor's announcement today, is what is our plan as a city for kind of reopening back up after this safer at home restrictions are now released. But it's not like everything just goes back to normal all at once. There's a phased reopening plan. So what's our plan as a city?
Absolutely. Of course, this was new to everybody, and we've all learned as we went here of what to do and what not to do. And I want to thank you, Tyler, in particular, because as the official public information officer for the police department, you do a lot of that also for the city. You're really good at it, and you're a professional at it. So I felt like these videos would be helpful. So hopefully going forward, you'll see more of those. But in particular, the phasing plan as far as with the city as we move forward is going to be to open back up city hall, city facilities, and things of that nature. What we will keep closed will be the community center at Charter Downers Park. We'll open up the pickleball courts. We'll open up tennis, but we won't be opening up the gymnasium, walkways, greenways, open spaces, things of that nature have been open. We will open up the dog parks and try to get back as close to normal as what we used to be, with a lot of precautions in place, of course, for not only for our employees, but also for the citizens out there and the visitors that come to Mount Juliet.
Great. And then so the governor released his reopening guide today. We took that guide and made it, I guess, easier to read with a city guide. So I'm going to display that city guide now. And it really goes through about, what all residents need to do in this initial phase, from restaurants and bars serving food to the playgrounds and sports courts, all the way, to different sports venues that are out there. And of course, this is a guide. The governor and us as a city, we are really doing what we can to promote people to just be responsible and to follow the guidelines, but there's really not any enforcement teeth. But we're hopeful, just like the community has been doing so far, that they've done a really good job at following the guidelines, because the curve is obviously on a downward trend for our area, and that's good to see. And we just really hope everyone continues to follow through and to follow through with the guidelines. The community who's watching, that is displayed up on the screen. It's also on the city's website and also the different social medias for the city for you to access this guide. We're not really going to just go through it one by one, but really the biggest change that we see in the community is restaurants and bars that serve food can open up at half capacity on Monday, April 27th. Retail stores can open up at half capacity on next Wednesday. And of course, there's tons of different precautions that still need to be taken as they open up, such as restaurants, tables have to be 6 feet apart and 6 people per table. So that guide is on our website for the community to access. and to look through. I know you today, myself, other people with the city, we got together by phone quite a bit throughout the day just to refine that, to ensure that we were doing the right thing. And it looks like we're right on track with that.
It does, yeah. And we've done that since day one. None of us had ever dealt with this before. So you're trying to think, what is the best process to follow? And in our particular case, we chose to follow the governor's directive and the governor's protocols, and in this case, the order. So that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to mirror it to the T, as a matter of fact, and we'll follow it going forward. And what I fully anticipate is that if things get better, and God forbid that they go backward, we don't want that. We don't want any kind of regression or recession whatsoever. Is that people continue to do the good things that you've been doing out there in Mount Jewett and other places, because we want to keep you safe. The most important thing is keeping our citizens safe. And we're all new at this. We're all learning sort of as we go. We're trying to listen to the professionals the best that we can. And I'm super proud. I mean, I agree. There's always situations you see to where you feel like some folks could do a little bit better. I'm a little bit disappointed in some of the littering and all that I'm seeing of some of the materials, gloves and masks and things of that nature. We've got plenty of trash receptacles, and we really wish that people would put those in there, because you've got kids that are walking along and people utilizing our green spaces and our sidewalks, and that's disappointing. That's discouraging, and to be honest with you, it's unacceptable. So I wish folks would do a little bit better there, but you can't fix everyone. But we're hoping that our pleas as fellow human beings will encourage those that are maybe not doing as well as they should with the distancing and consideration for others. We'll get a little bit better. And I think we've all learned. I mean, there's things that I find myself, for example, still inadvertently touching my face. That's just a natural thing. And but I can also tell I've gotten much better at that, and so have a lot of citizens. If I'm walking out in the community, for example, I enjoy walking. I notice if I come up on the sidewalk, I'm already thinking way ahead before I get there. Let me move over 6 feet once I pass them, not because I feel odd around them or want them to feel odd around me, just because it's the respectful and the courteous thing to do. So we're going to do everything within our power as a city. But we've been through so much since March 3rd, which oddly enough, March 3rd was my birthday, and that was a very traumatic time for our community. And I look back on that at how much work we've put in as a city, as citizens, as neighbors to one another, because we are one big extended family. Mm-hmm. And I'm touched by that. I'm absolutely blown away with it, because our whole world is dealing with this. But the difference for us is we had to deal with the tornado as well. And what I've seen is just amazing. And I know everybody's worried. I know that folks are stressed, and I know that people are concerned, because we've got quite a few people that are, that have lost their jobs, and that just breaks my heart. So we're trying to do everything we can to figure out how to help these people. There's not a day that goes by I don't get multiple calls from citizens, because they either know me or know that they're looking for help. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to help people find jobs. So the one thing good about the government opening to some degree here, or more opening, is that we can get some of these people back to work. We can put some parameters in place and some protocols to keep people safe. And if we see that's not working, we can always back it up a little bit. If we see it's going well and the governor sees fit to go to the next phase, then we'll see what that looks like. But if we have to go back and get more stringent, we can always do that. But hopefully this helps in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's good that maybe the city or community members may not know about is like budget projections ahead of this COVID crisis that we're in. We're actually really good. The community here in town, revenue was good, with which people were shopping. The real estate environment was very well. Everything was very up and positive. So I guess that's a good thing, because we weren't down and then going into crisis. We were up going into crisis. So hopefully we'll be able to quickly rebound once everything does come back to some level of normalcy in our city.
Yeah, we were doing well. I mean, up until March 3rd, we had projected about 3% increase this year, and we were at about 5%. And so fortunately, our city leadership, our elected body, and our citizens have worked together well for years. So we had a pretty good cash reserve to get us through tougher times, and that's what a good city should do. It should prepare itself for an unfortunate situation like what we're dealing with right now. And our city has done that. So I feel good about the future. I mean, are we going to get back to where we were at before? That's an unknown right now. There's going to have to be a lot of changes, and we'll just see how that works out. But do I feel comfortable that Mount Jewett is going to be a wonderful place going forward? Absolutely. It was a wonderful place before, and it will be a wonderful place now. The same with our great state. And the reason it is that way is because of the citizens.
Absolutely. It's our community's absolutely fantastic. They support the police and fire department, all of our public works crews, city officials. all the city workers that work together every single day. We come together as a community. We're Mount Juliet strong, and we are stronger together, even though we may be apart through these COVID-19 precautions. And I definitely think we're going to get through this even stronger once we're over it. We're going to learn from some things. We're going to adapt to it, but we're going to come out stronger on the end. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is that bright light at the end of this, where we come out even stronger and we progress as a community and continue to be the great community that we are in Mount Juliet. And I guess this is a good transition point from the COVID-19 and onto the tornado response and cleanup. And I know we have some crews out there with a private contractor that the city put out for bid, and we awarded them that bid, and they've been getting to work. So speak a little bit, I guess, about the vendor and the cleanup and that progress.
Well, one of the things that unfortunately, which is it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's unfortunate we had the tornado. The fortunate things that come from that is that our community pulled together, which didn't surprise me a bit. I mean, a lot of the cleanup efforts are to go out to the residents. They put all this effort in and helping one another. And when I was standing in the road at 1:30 that morning, and I was looking at all the damage, you wonder at that particular point how you get past it. But literally, almost instantaneously, you started hearing chainsaws and people helping one another. And that has absolutely blown me away, because in my lifetime I've dealt with a lot, but nothing like this. This was a first for a lot of us. So we started picking up things literally instantaneously to start trying to get our lives back together in some way and get the lives back together. And we mourn for those that lost their lives or lost their belongings or injured in this. But our city's picked up extremely well. But one of the things that the request that was made literally within days of this disaster is that I reached out to our elected body and said we need a couple of grapple trucks. And what those grapple trucks do is they enable our public works crews to go out and start picking up all these trees, these huge mounds of trees that were blocking the roads. And our commission, our elected body, did not hesitate. And we're talking about $400,000. And we were able to get, once they gave the approval that day upon the request, we had the trucks here and our operators out working those that day. Another thing that was amazing is I had gotten on the phone at 3:00 that same morning and called multiple cities all across the state. It really touches my heart. It almost caused me to break up a little bit. Sure. Because multiple cities from across the state, and one of those being Chattanooga, who also recently were struck by a tornado, didn't hesitate. They sent everything they had to our great community to help us. And that's what got us where we're at. But as a result of that, those people eventually have to go back to their own communities. So we needed help to finally start getting the debris beyond the trees and the brush and things of that nature down. We had to start getting the home, the homes that were destroyed, that were pushed up against the edge of the road. We wanted to help out and get that debris removed out so that cost didn't get incurred by the homeowners and their insurance companies. So our elected body and staff basically did a budget amendment, put it out for bid, picked a contractor to not exceed $2 million to remove all this debris that you see along the roadsides. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of our city for stepping up and doing that. And we hope to get a big percentage of that money back through FEMA, because that money doesn't belong to us as a city. It belongs to our taxpayers. And I'm proud of the effort we made. It's like anything else. You look at it and you question yourself daily, not just on our COVID response of what we could have done better or what I could have done better as a city manager, but what we're doing with the tornado relief. And I'm proud of all of it. But as a natural human being, it's just a natural thing we do as a human being, is that you question yourself what you could have done better. So the neat thing is our goal has always been is to be better than we were yesterday, today, and better tomorrow than we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to me to hear from the state and federal officials that came to town and to see how they saw how together our community was and how quickly we got to certain phases in the cleanup.
Absolutely.
We are really ahead of that game. And some people may see debris sitting around me thinking, man, what's taking so long? But really what took a couple of weeks was just getting that bid awarded to that vendor to remove the construction debris. But our community is way ahead of the game. And that's a testament to the city. Again, just like during the COVID response, as we're going through right now, this tornado response is a testament to our community. When we needed help as a city and police department, we made a couple phone calls. A pastoral group called Everyone's Wilson immediately jumped in to help. They organized volunteers, they organized the cleanup, and that really put us ahead of the game. So definitely we're blessed to live in this community, and definitely blessed of all of our community members who help so much all the time to lift everyone up and ensure that everyone is taken care of.
Yeah, you're blessed when if I started to try to talk right now, it would take hours to thank all the people that need to be thanked
Mm-hmm.
for what they did. And it actually definitely encourages you about humanity when what you see happening. It's absolutely mind-boggling and mind-blowing of what's happened in this community. And I hope that our citizens take time to take great pride in who they are, because that's exactly what makes our community so special. And even though we had these two horrible things happen, the COVID and of course the tornado, I think it's brought us closer together, and I think it's opened our eyes in a lot of ways to all the many blessings that we do have.
Absolutely, you said it right. It did bring us closer together, and that's awesome. Absolutely. So good news in Mount Juliet. Let's hear all the stuff, all the good information that Kenny Martin has about what's coming to town. What's changing, what's improving. As I drive around, I see tons of improvement. Construction's still happening. I see the clock tower about to be finished. So just give us a good news update about what's happening.
Absolutely. Thankfully, life has to go on, of course, even though you're dealing with tragedies. The good thing is a lot of things that were happening before continued to happen even throughout the COVID and even with the tornado. For example, the greenway system in Mount Juliet, if you've traveled West Division Road recently, you've noticed that that's been coming along really nicely. Like anything else, nothing ever happens as quick as you'd like for it to. You'd like it to happen sooner. But once you finally get it, you don't think about how long it took to get here. You just enjoy it. And it does my heart well as it does other people when you drive down West Division or throughout our community and you see people enjoying these things. For example, one of the first things the night of the tornado I noticed, and I took a little ribbon about it, which is natural, and I think I should have, is when we did our little iconic car display up on Mount Juliet Road by West Wilson Middle School. Well, that was one of the first things that got destroyed in Mount Juliet as a result of the tornado. And of course, it was least on the list of things, and it can be replaced at any point. It wasn't somebody's home, but it had become a little bit iconic. So some folks actually began to ask in the days that followed about, will that come back? And absolutely it will. As a matter of fact, a local business person and resident has already stepped up with another replacement vehicle. So we'll be beautifying that again at some point as a little iconic place for people to have their formals at again, or pictures, and even weddings like what we were having before. And that's good stuff. That's what makes our community unique. The same as with the general store. The same as with the clock tower that you see under construction now. The same with the parking lot expansion that you're seeing at the RTA on the east end and on the west end. It's going to add better than 100 parking places. Those things are exciting for me. And another thing that's exciting is we've learned a different way to do business now with a lot of our businesses. We may have been forced into what we're doing now, but I've talked to lots of business folks in the community that said that their business has actually done quite well because instead of going in, they've learned a new method. Maybe, okay, more curbside, more delivery, more drive-through. We've been sort of preaching for years that drive-throughs are awesome because we as human beings like them. We like the fact we don't even have to get out of our cars any longer. So I think you'll see more drive-throughs in the future. I think you'll see smaller eating areas inside the restaurants. We got a lot of business interest going on right now. People have asked about the big buildings that were destroyed. Those are being rebuilt as we speak. From the day the tornado happened, the larger buildings like the SEVA buildings that were destroyed and the Beckwith Farms development, they want to have those rebuilt in 120 days. So for that to happen, of course, the city staff and inspectors and other people have got to pull together to make that happen. And the reason is those businesses had employees, and those employees need to be able to get back to work so they can support their families, and also that we can patronize our businesses in our city. Right. So again, the mom and pop businesses and the citizens are the fabric and the backbone and the economic engines of our community. And I'm here to tell you today that we've got people standing in line in some of these businesses that have closed. For example, like Logan's. We hate that Logan's have closed, but they've closed most all their restaurants, and it's possible that all those restaurants will go away. And we hate to lose them, but we're already working with other businesses that want to go in that very business or that very building. Awesome. And so there's a lot of interest out there, and we're going to be fine. And the reason we're going to be fine is because we got God on our side, and we're one big extended family, so we're going to be fine.
That's great. That's awesome to hear. Especially, I was surprised that they're going to rebuild those larger warehouses in 120 days. That's pretty amazing on the speed that they're doing. And same with the Amazon site. That is going to bring a lot of jobs into our community. They are moving, quite along. They have structures up already.
Yeah.
Start attaching together and I guess filling out the building. So it's awesome to see that's happening. So Kenny, do you want to take a couple of questions from the community and then see if anyone has any questions we can answer?
Absolutely.
So folks, if you are on a Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, just type in the comments if you have any questions. Kenny or I will be able to answer those for you. Just type it in, and we will get to it. So we all know this name, right, Kenny? Tina Hudson Pillar.
Oh, absolutely.
No better place to live, work, and raise a family. So that's awesome. Tina is a owner of one of our insurance businesses in town, and I think she grew up in Mount Juliet and then raised her family in Mount Juliet. So Tina, thanks for the comment and thanks for chiming in.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady, and thank everybody out there too for putting up with me. Tyler is the pro, and as you can tell, I'm the rookie.
Hey, I think he's done a pretty good job. You've done good, Kenny. You look like a natural.
Oh, thank you.
That's great. Let's see. Go through these comments here. Greg, thanking us for what we do for Mount Juliet. I love what I do. Kenny, I know you love what you do. You're working all the time, just like I am. And I think we have one goal, and that's we just like to serve the community and do what we can to ensure that everyone's taken care of. But we appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, we love the McDougal family as well.
Susie's talking about, she says, thank you so much for all you've done. I've never dreamed we would be as far along after the tornado as we are now, and hashtag MJ Strong.
Amen.
Taylor is asking here, when can we get haircuts again? Taylor, we were watching for this guidance too today by the governor, and he is going to send out guidance on haircuts, any kind of social, close contact work when people work together, such as haircuts, tattoo parlors, massages. He's going to release some guidance next week on that. So stay tuned to our social media, our website. Stay tuned to the state and what they are going to release, because our city is going to fall in line just with what Governor Lee releases. But we expect haircut guidance to come out next week. Lori mentioned here, she says, yes, I've been in 2 parking lots staying in Mount Juliet. Both had disposable gloves in the parking lot. Unacceptable for sure. Proud of Mount Juliet, though. Great job. And Lori, we see that too. We definitely want people to properly dispose of that. We even have a crew of City Beautiful workers who go out and work very hard to keep this community clean. And Kenny, do you want to talk a little bit about our City Beautiful group and all they do for us?
I do, absolutely. I know sometimes people wonder, and I want to thank Miss Lori too. I know her very well for her kind words and support on that. Yeah, we have an awesome team of 3 people, and these guys love what they do. They love this community. They live here as well, and it pains us. Back when I was police chief years ago, I'll give you an example. There was something, Captain, you learned it as well, that it's called the broken window theory, and it talks about that if you allow things to get worse or trash to be thrown around and leave it laying there, that the mindset begins for folks to think, well, they're okay with that. It's acceptable behavior, and it just gets worse. And it also helps to bring in crime if it looks like you don't care for your community. So we created a City Beautiful team, and what they do is try to keep things that are broken fixed, try to keep the trash picked up in our community, the graffiti down, and they do that daily, and they work so hard, and they're such proud men and guys at what they do. So when you see them out there, we do that every day, and we'll continue to do it. So even for those folks that are disrespectful and feel like it's okay to do it, just please know that we're not going to give up. We're going to continue to pick those things up, because this is our community. Our citizens deserve nothing but the best. And so we basically set aside 3 people, and that's what they do. And it's well worth every penny put into that program, simply because I think folks will be amazed at what they pick up. Everything from mattresses to refrigerators to you name it. If it's something that somebody doesn't want, and they don't want to take it to the landfill, sometimes they just dump it in somebody's yard along the roadside, and these guys make sure that doesn't happen. They keep it picked up. So I'm most thankful for them, and most thankful for the folks out there like Miss Lori and others that help us get those things picked up. I see people picking it up all the time, and we appreciate that, and we just need those that aren't so good at it to get better.
Right. And Marty Potts, he's the supervisor of that unit, and he helps our police department tremendously too, because we'll have a crash and there'll be tons of debris, and we know we can rely on Marty and his crew to come out so we can clear up our officers and quickly get the roadway cleaned up and all that debris out of the road. And then some people think, well, why just not leave it in the road? But you have to think about pedestrians and bicyclists. That's why it's very important for us to clean debris out of the roadway, because it's unsightly. For one, it can cause more damage to other vehicles, but we really want to make sure it's safe for our motorcyclists and also our bicyclists. that are out there on the roadway.
Absolutely.
Got a question coming from Charlie. What happens if we are inundated with Davidson County people coming into Wilson County restaurants? And Charlie, this is a thought that came to us, but if you think about it, the restrictions are locally to each business and restaurant, and they can only allow so many people in. So if too many people do come, the restaurants and retail environment, they can't let those people in the stores where they would be possibly cross-contaminating the virus with each other and in close contact. So they would simply just have to stay in their car or go elsewhere because it'll be packed. They won't be able to get in. But with retail environments and with restaurants, they still have to follow those guidelines as best as they can to ensure that we don't continue the spread of the virus. So hopefully each retail and business will follow the rules like they need to and ensure that guidelines are followed at their establishments. Let's see what else we got. May have some new ones. Right. Did you pay Jay Kenny? Because he's saying, Kenny, you're the best city manager we have ever had.
Yeah, he's got to be delirious. He's
always nice to get
be that.
Nice
and that's a nice looking picture too. Looks like a nice couple.
Sure. Who's TJ Roberts? You know that guy?
Oh, I know that fella. He's a nice young man as well. Very nice young man.
There you go. What about Debra Pots Bar?
Oh, I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, I knew she would be watching today. We have to give kudos to Debbie because Kitty spends a lot of time working and she holds down that household. So Debbie, if you're listening, everyone in the city from the police department down appreciates all that you do for Kenny to keep him energized so he can continue to support us as a city. So thank you for supporting him. Your work goes a long way. Trust me.
Hey, Captain, can I apologize to her because
sure.
It's unfortunate that she even has to deal with me. I mean, I have a hard time dealing with myself. I can only imagine how somebody could live with me, and especially my son and family for putting up with me. But I am the most blessed person on the face of the planet, and I'm the most thankful person.
Absolutely. No, we appreciate everything. Question from Carol Hester Humphrey. She says, so small retail businesses can open on the 1st. And Carol, I'll pop this guide up for you to see. But retail, they can open up on Wednesday. Next Wednesday, retail businesses can open. Of course, there's guidelines that need to be followed, and those guidelines can be found on the website. And then there's also a question here, I think, from folks about, is this recorded for playback later? And yes, Carol, it is. You can watch it later on YouTube or on the different Facebook channels that it's airing on. Once this ends, the live broadcast is over, but then you can always play it back later. A question from Regina, what phase will churches be? And Regina, we are waiting for that guidance to come out next week by the governor. The governor released guidance on retail environments and restaurants today. We put that guidance on our website, but he will be releasing more details next week about nail salons, hair salons, tattoo parlors, and also churches. There's a question about youth sports here too. And Mandy, we've looked at this as well. You know, we obviously want all of our little league and different sports teams to get back together and having fun again and playing sports as a community. But sports venues continue to be, I guess, prohibited through the guidance that we see. But hopefully we will see more guidance next week on this to kind of give us an idea about how to approach youth sports. If you notice, this is a phased reopening plan. So as we go week by week, more phases change, and it allows more and more stuff to be open. We definitely don't want to get to a situation where more people get together, the virus continues to spread, and then we're in a worse situation than we are today. So that's continued to be monitored by the governor and us as a city. Jeff Roberts saying, appreciate all that you're doing. Thank you so much. And if you have questions, again, just type those in the comments. We'll be glad to get to those. Mandy, saying thank you. But please just type those questions in. And if we don't see anything, we will probably end our first live stream, but we'll continue to watch out for questions for you. And anything city related, feel free to ask that. We spoke today about our COVID-19 plan as a city, which is in line with the governor's plan. We spoke about the tornado cleanup and that process and talked about some good news in town. But if you have any questions, just type those in.
Hey, Captain, can I add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I don't want to speculate for the governor by any means, but what we think will happen is that basically, if everybody does really well with these, the recommendations that have been put forth, it's very possible then the next week it could be better, new information to come, or within 2 weeks we could possibly be going to phase 2. So the
Right.
most important thing is that we just can be safe, considerate, patient, of course, most importantly. We just want to be patient because, the days of just being able to walk right in maybe somewhere, there's going to be some different guidelines. So if everybody just remember that as we get used to this, and I almost hate to say it, the new norm, because it could very well get back to something similar to what it was before, and we'll learn a lot of new good things as a result of this. So I just hope everybody's patient, realize how blessed we are. There's things I was mentioning the other day that years ago used to be you could smoke in restaurants. A lot of people might not remember that if you're relatively young. And some folks thought, oh, how will we ever get used to this? And you look back on it now and you go, well, I can't even imagine that would even occur today. And so we will get used to this, and we'll make sure that everybody's safe. That's the most important thing. And we're all learning as we go. And I know somebody told me earlier, don't get too, I'm the kumbaya kind of guy. They said, don't get too much into that, but I want to. I want to everybody know how much we appreciate you and how patient we're going to have to be. And we're going to have to lean on one another as we go through this. I'm not always the most patient person, but I do care deeply, and I appreciate everybody for what you've done out there, and just ask you to keep doing the same thing. And I think if we continue to do the great job we've done over the last couple of months, that we could see some really good stuff in the future, and hopefully get back to some of these activities that we not only enjoyed, but I think that we need and our kids need.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be key that we continue to support one another, continue to social distance, continue to wear masks, continue to disinfect your hands. That is all key to prevent this spread, and it will allow us to get back to more normal as we continue to progress into the summer. You may not know this, Kenny, because I know we don't rebuild the schools, but there's a question here. When will West Wilson Middle School and Stoner Creek start their rebuild? Have you received any information on that you can speak of?
I have. They're looking for a start date of June 1st to start. And of course, they're doing everything they can behind the scenes through engineering and other things to get those projects started. If you've noticed, you've probably seen the construction fencing going up recently. That's to not only protect the things that are there that they still want to salvage, a lot of the teachers' items and things of that nature. They still haven't got a lot of those things out. But basically, when it's all said and done, what you'll see at West Wilson Middle School is it'll look a lot like the new Gladeville Middle School, and Stoner Creek will look a lot like Springdale Elementary. And you should see a lot of construction starting early part, if not day one in June.
Great. And question here about the tornado debris along Golden Bear. I guess you've probably seen it in those trees that are. Rich is asking who is responsible for cleaning that out of those trees.
Yeah, we're going to be working with the Panattoni group who owned those buildings. It's probably not on their priority list right now, and I understand that. But we're going to be working with them and pressing to some degree at some point to see if they can't work with us to get a lot of that out, because we want it to look nice. If a piece of trash on the ground bothers us, you can only imagine how all that debris feels. But
absolutely,
they want it cleaned up as well. So we'll be working closely with them. And very good question.
Right. And I imagine it's just a process. I know us as a city, and you for sure, as particular as you are on how things look with debris and trash, you're going to ensure our community looks beautiful again, and the debris is cleaned up.
And there's a lot of recycling going on. So if that makes a lot of folks feel better, it does me as well. A lot of recycling, a lot of folks that scrap metal, things of that nature have been out there, and they're helping as well. You don't realize it, but every person that's helped pick something up just gets us a step closer to getting the beautification back and getting our lives back to where we want them to be.
Right. Question from Russ Fairbanks, one of our local pastors. When is our next update? He says this is helpful for all of us by keeping us informed. So I think we're going to try to do this as a weekly update right now as we're going through the tornado and COVID stuff, just to update our community. So Russ, I would expect one next week, likely Friday next week is what we'll probably try to do, probably around the same time frame, as long as our schedules are aligned. So look for one next week, Russ. And thank you for the kind words. And Russ, thank you for all you do as a city to support us. Okay, I don't see any other questions. And if there's some that we've missed, definitely just feel free to call us as a city. You can always reach out to City Manager Martin by calling City Hall or just shooting him an email, and he'll be glad to respond to whatever question that you have. Kenny, do you want to say some final words?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. I'd also like to thank Travis Taylor. Travis helped us put this together. Apologize to anybody for my rookiness here. I'm not. I'm new at this, and hopefully they'll get better. But there's so much information I didn't pass along today. I'd like to thank Captain Chandler for helping put this together. Wish I'd have done it a lot sooner, but everybody's just been so super busy. Again, I want to thank the staff, our elected body, and citizens. You guys have been phenomenal. Our entire community has been phenomenal, and I'm just so most thankful for it. And appreciate my wife and her patience because I've been at work quite a bit as I normally am, but even more so, and probably been a little more difficult to deal with. So thank everybody for your support.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to all for joining our first City Manager live stream update. Well, we called it, I guess, Live with City Manager Kenny Martin. If there's anything that we can do for you as a city or a police department, all you have to do is either find us out there working or give us a call, and we will be glad to do whatever we can to help you. And if we can't help you, we will point you in the direction of someone who can help you. So thank you all for joining, and we will see you next week, next Friday, likely in the afternoon. Take care and have a good weekend.